everybody. Today we are talking about your canine fitness questions that you have. I'm also wanting to share with you, if you're interested, in what some of my favorite canine fitness activities are, the things that I love doing with my dog. Now, I've had a couple questions submitted ahead of time, but I'm also here hoping that you guys will submit some questions. So make sure you post below, say hello. This is going live on my Northeast Canine Conditioning Facebook page. Just be aware that sometimes your questions might be on a different page. If anybody sees questions posted anywhere, shoot it here, let me know. And if I happen to miss your question, I promise I'll go back and I will post and respond afterwards. So thank you for joining me. Michael's here in the house. Angie, great, thanks for joining us. Melissa, hey Melissa. And I know we have a couple other people here that might be listening on the phone that might not be accessible on the computer. But again, your canine fitness questions, pretty open topic. And I have a couple that have been sent related to motivation, different sports, recovery from injury after your dog's already been okayed by the veterinarian to return to activity. What can you do with your dog? What are your favorite activities? I'll show you what mine are. So Katie's here. Thomas, thanks for joining us. Diane's here. Hey, you guys, we got a lot of people here this evening. Again, questions, put them down in there and I'm going to try my best to get to them. So if you are new, if this is your first time here, my name is Erica Bowling. I am the owner and founder of Northeast Canine Conditioning. I really love helping people take their sport dogs, their working dogs, and turning them into elite canine athletes. They're already athletes, but we want to really look at how we can help them reach peak performance. I also love helping people take their passion for canines, canine fitness, dogs, whatever it might be, and turning that into profit. So sometimes I talk about the business side of things and sometimes the fitness. Today it's a fitness topic. So Catherine, thanks for joining us. I see some regulars here. Again, Northeast Canine Conditioning is my business page, is where I go live. So you might be watching it somewhere else, but if you want to catch us live, that's where we are. So you know what? I want to jump right into some of these questions, and I'm going to be watching the comment thread, so put questions in there. And if I happen to miss it, sometimes there's a delay, check the replay. I will get back to it. So let's start with some of these questions. I'm going to throw in, I'm going to have a couple of my favorites. I told you guys when I posted this, I was going to share what are some of my favorite canine fitness activities. And some of you might not be familiar with, this is one of my favorites, canicross. Canicross is much more popular in Europe than in the United States. Canicross is when you run with your dog. They wear a harness. It's like a mushing harness, and they're attached to, it's a waist belt. It sits low on your waist, low on your hips, so it's not putting pressure on your back, which I love because I have herniated discs in my back. So I don't want the pressure on my lower back. What I like about canicross is I can go running with my dog and my hands are free. So I'm not all lopsided or the dog's not pulling on one side of my body. And I just love when the dog's in front of me. And here's a great thing, you guys. The dog's attached to you and it's a bungee. So there's not, there's some tension, but it's not like it's going to like yank you suddenly if the dog kind of sprints forward. But you run faster. And I mean, I'm not a super fast runner, but when I do canicross, when I do regular running, it depends. I don't know. I could go, maybe my fastest time was around an 8-minute mile when I'm doing a few miles, not like sprinting. And that's like, I don't maintain that very for much amount of time. But with Knox, when he's been attached to me doing canicross, I've done, for me, this is huge. For me, some of you, some runners out there, this is like slow motion. But I've done like 7.5-minute miles where he was attached to me. And like, oh my God, like I would never be able to do even close to that without having the dog in front of me. Great sport, a great bonding way to really connect with your dog. To me, there's just a different feel when the dog is in front of you and he's attached to you and pulling you. It's just a completely different feel than having the dog on your side with a leash in your hand. It's just different. And I love it. And you know, one of the things that I love about it is that I get my fitness, I get my exercise, and he gets his exercise. So normally what happens is I try to have to get into the gym and I have to find time for the dogs to exercise, and I'm trying to balance it. When I do this, it's like killing birds, you know, 2 birds with 1 stone, and I get my exercise and he gets his exercise, and it motivates me more. And it's a great activity. So that's one of my favorite things that I like to do. I'll share more, but let me get to some of the questions. Hey, Stephanie, thanks for joining us. You guys, if you have any questions, post them in here. So, okay, so one of the questions that I got, it's regarding a piece of equipment. And I don't have a picture to show you, but it's called a Climb. K-L-I-M-B. So if you're on your computer, don't close the window where I am. Keep watching me. But if you open another window and it's K-L-I-M-B. And it's like a little platform, a raised platform with 4 feet on it. And you can, for me, I love stretching my dog where I put his front feet up on a platform. My dogs range from about 60 to 80, 85 pounds. They're medium to large dogs. And so I like when I raise their front feet maybe about a foot off the ground, because I can get a really nice stretch. And there's a lot of other things that you can use the Climb for, but I love putting the front feet up and doing some exercises, doing a stretching, doing doggy squats where he puts his front feet up and he goes from a sit to a stand to a sit to a stand. It's like doing squats, right? And so the question was about, the use of it. Do I like it? How frequently do I use it? And I'll tell you, one of the things that I love about the Climb is that it's portable. It's lightweight. It's made out of plastic, and the legs twist off. And so when I'm home or when I go to the park, sometimes I'll use a park bench, the seat of a picnic table. I'll lower to the ground. I'll flip over like a rubber horse feed bucket, and I'll use things in my environment to put his front feet on, or to use it for different things for exercise equipments. So to me, the biggest thing is when I'm traveling and doing seminars, or I have to be portable and move things around. I really like it because it's lightweight, and it's when the legs come off, they attach, and it's nice and smooth. It's just easy to carry, easy to put in the car. So that was a quick question regarding equipment. Diane says she got little stools from Home Depot. Yeah, and I know some people that make like wooden boxes. And the thing is with wooden boxes, they can get heavy. And, if you have to, like I do a lot of seminars where I have to load up my car and put tons of equipment and unload the car and load the car and unload the car. I've got some big pieces of equipment, heavy stuff. Again, I've got my herniated discs in my back. I don't want to be carrying heavy stuff and spending a lot of time carrying things back and forth. So I love that they're portable. But there's a lot of different things that you can use, to get those front feet up, or however you're using it. There's a lot of creative ways to use it. But if you're not familiar with it, Google it, K-L-I-M-B. One warning is if you're going to use it and your dog is putting his feet on it, make sure your dog is putting the feet like around the center of it. If you've got a big, heavy dog and they kind of stand right on the edge of it, it's not super heavy, which is what I like, but you don't want it like moving and shifting and flipping over. So you want to make sure the dog's center of gravity is nice and balanced on it. So that was one of the questions. So Katie says, what common mistakes do you see, or what do people do that could be dangerous for the dog? Katie, if you didn't see my, last 2 weeks ago, I did pet peeves, 2 episodes back, two weeks ago back. If you go to my Northeast Canine Conditioning Facebook page and go to videos, you'll see it. But this relates to some of my pet peeves, and they could be dangerous. A couple things that are dangerous is exercising and doing fitness without warming up your dog. Cold, tight muscles, not warming up your dog. One of the quickest, easiest ways to help prevent injuries is to warm up your dog. Another thing is I don't like people just going to extremes. They get on the equipment and they do these crazy extreme stretches. They're like hyper extending, hyper stretching the dog. And you can injure the muscle. You can overstretch and create a problem with the muscle. A lot of injuries, the iliopsoas, the groin area, that muscle, the iliopsoas and psoas is common injury where that muscle gets pulled. And what creates it a lot is this overstretching, slipping on wet grass, sliding on ice and snow. And so overstretching, especially that overstretching and doing it on cold muscles, that can definitely create injury. Like I said, I covered some of these in my pet peeves because they can be dangerous. Another thing, not warming up the dog, but also when people just assume that their dogs are just natural athletes, I mean, they are, but they're just like, oh, my dog's fit. My dog can do whatever because, you know, he's a Malinois, you know, he's an athletic breed. He's a border collie. He's got tons of energy. And they put their dogs in situations where the dog has not been properly conditioned, physically conditioned. So here's an example. It's another one of my pet peeves, but it's also where people are rushing and doing things when the dog's not physically prepared and prepped for it. Is if you're a weekend warrior, which a lot of us, you know, it's hard to do things throughout the week. Sometimes we just do our fitness training on the weekend, and it's hard to get the body acclimated to cardio, endurance, strength training when you're only doing it like 1 day a week. And so I know some people, for example, that they'll have the dogs. I see it in protection work where the dog runs down the field for a bite, and to strengthen the dog and sometimes to slow the dog down, they attach the dog to tires, heavy tires, 30, 40, 50-pound tires. And the dog's like running full speed down the field. And the thing is they'll do it like once in a blue moon, and the dog's body is not conditioned for it. You're asking for injury. So that's one of the things that common mistakes is people jump into things and they push their dogs because the dogs are athletic. They're full of energy. You know, if you got a high drive dog, they're super motivated, and they haven't given thought to, is my dog's body, is your dog used to handling that kind of exercise? You don't just go overnight and your dog's never done it before and all of a sudden be running down the field 5 times, pulling this heavy thing behind him. So that's kind of a weight pull example, but you can apply it to on the treadmill, right? They don't do any conditioning. They put the dog on, they like go and run them 15, 20 minutes. So making sure that you give the dog, you build in gradually into your activities and your exercises. Give the dog's body time to acclimate, and it can take weeks, and you're going to increase in increments. So common things, not warming up their dogs, pulling them straight out of the car and just, going straight on the field, not warming them up, and not conditioning them, not conditioning, not doing regular fitness, not building it into their program, and then expecting their dog to be that weekend athlete and that weekend warrior, and putting them in situations that are setting them up for injury because their bodies have not had a chance to adapt. And then, like I said, going on the exercises, overstretching, hyperstretching, and not focusing too much on doing some fancy, impressive moves, but ignoring the dog's body posture, the position of the body, and doing slow, when you're doing exercises, slow and controlled. So people are rushing. They're rushing into these activities and exercises too quickly when the dogs aren't ready for it. And I guess another thing is they're not doing fitness. They're not having any focus on fitness. And so those are some common mistakes, is putting them in a situation where you should have a more fit dog and they're not conditioning them. Great question. Great question. Other questions. I have another question that was sent in to me. Let me look over here. So this question was, okay. So this is one of my students, clients, has a dog that has recovered from an iliopsoas injury. Again, that's that muscle around the groin area. Frequently, this is created by an overstretching of the muscle. So the dog was rehabbed. The dog was cleared by the veterinarian. The dog is returning to work, not full work, but is increasing activity. So the question was, remember I just described the doggy squats, where the dog can be sit, stand, right, doing squats. If you put their front feet up on like a climb on a step or something, it's going to put more weight on the hind end because the dog's at a slant, right? The gravity, there's more weight on the hind end. So when the dog goes from a sit to a stand to a sit, you're putting more pressure. You're overloading more when the front feet are raised on the hindquarters, and your dog's doing squats, okay? So the question is, the dog's starting to increase activity. And like I said, I'm not a veterinarian, so if there's an issue, the dog needs to be cleared by a veterinarian first. We need to make sure the dog's healthy, the dog can return to exercise, and this is safe. Once we know this is safe, the question is, my next exercise, should I have the dog put the front feet on an object and do these squats? Or should I go to like a three-legged stand where maybe they lift up one of their front feet, lift up one of the back feet, and is putting more weight on one side versus the other. Given the previous injury of the dog, where you have maybe one side, I can't remember if it was, I think one side of the body was weaker than the other, right? So you're going to be putting more demand on that hind end. If I'm going to lift, say, the back right leg or the back left leg, I'm putting more stress on that opposite leg, okay? So to me, in the back leg, if I'm doing a three-legged stand and my dog is lifting one of the back legs, I'm putting more pressure, right? I'm overloading on that other leg. So in my mind, if it were my dog, I would increase gradually. So to me, if my dog is doing sit, stand with two legs on the ground, two hind legs on the ground, evenly distributing the weight, that's not overloading the system as much as if but the dog is on three legs, you know, lifting one of the legs in the back. So what I would do, I'm not sure if he's there, the person who asked the question is in here, but if not, maybe watching the replay. What I would do is I would do the easier exercise first, and, you know, build that in and increase activity over the weeks and make sure the dog's handling it fine, and then increase the level of difficulty. So if I were going in increments, I would first have all 4 feet on the ground, and I would do my exercises with all 4 feet on the ground. Then I would raise the front feet up a little bit, and then maybe I might do the sit, stand. I might raise the front feet a little higher, sit, stand. The back feet are both on the ground. I would do that, develop, you know, some of the hindquarter strength, monitor my dog, do other exercises. If the dog's doing this over a few weeks, the dog's doing really well, then I'm going to increase the difficulty. I might go steeper, the front feet might be higher, and I might start doing like a three-legged stand. I might have them lift one front foot, one back foot, and alternate. So for me, I would be conservative, and I would take more time to increase the difficulty. And when you have weight distribution and all 4 feet on the ground, that's the easiest. And then if you have the front feet raised and the back feet on the ground, that's more difficult than all 4 feet on the ground, because you got added gravity, added weight. And then when you start, you know, a dog naturally, you know, if they're scratching, they're doing three-legged stand. But, you know, it's not like a natural thing your dog's always doing, is just kind of, you know, doing three-legged stands. And it is changing the distribution of the weight in the hindquarters, in the hind end. And so, you know, that's going to be more difficult. Now, if you do a three-legged stand and you start raising the front end or having the back feet up, that's even more difficult, right? Because now you're adding more gravity into the front or the hind end. So in a short roundabout way, that would be what I would do. I would do the more conservative and gradually build up to the more difficult level. And the dog might be perfectly fine, you know, going to something that might be a little more challenging. But I tend to be, like I said, I tend to go on the conservative, and I tend to make sure I give plenty of time for the dog to adapt to the exercise. And I get, you know, kind of hypersensitive, especially if they've been injured, and I watch them like a hawk. So like I said, I'm just kind of extra cautious, and I want to move into it more conservatively. Most people, when they come back from injury, from what I see, a lot of times people rush back into regular training way too quickly, and they did not give the dog time for the body to build back up. So if your dog's injured and he's not doing anything for months, you know, it's going to take more than 3 weeks to get him back to regular training level. So a lot of people, they'll rehab the dog, you know, maybe go to physical therapy and they'll rehab, and then the vet clears them. And then a week later, they're back, you know, 100% doing whatever they normally do. And then you see re-injury happen. So conservative, take it. You're better off. When my dog was injured, he was young. I was like, I'm better off taking a year off, building him back up slowly, getting him strong again, than rushing and getting injured again and again and again and never recovering and always having this chronic issue. It was horrible taking a year off from competition and training. And for me, it was harder than him. Like, it was a lifestyle, right? It was a lifestyle. But I was like, you know, I'd rather take the time now and make sure he has a really good recovery than to rush it. So that goes back to one of the things that I see mistakes people make, you know, rushing things. So let me see. We got any other questions? I did have other questions submitted. I'm just looking in the discussion area. Do I recommend supplements? Supplements, good question. I'm just scrolling down. I'll come back. Okay, supplements. I'm not a nutritionist, okay? And I know for a fact dogs respond differently to supplements. So I'm not going to, I'll say what I use and stuff like that, but I'm not going to tell people what you need to check with your vet. You need to make sure your dog's healthy and see what's going on before, you know, if there's other issues. So I'm not going to like tell people what supplement to use. I'm not a nutritionist, but I'll tell you what I experienced. When I had issues with some of my dogs and people were, you know, veterinarians and people were saying, this supplement, this is good, this is great. And I would give it, my one dog, after he was on this one supplement for like 2 weeks, he was like throwing up every single day, every day. The minute I stopped the supplement, he was fine. The vomiting stopped. And I'll have one dog that can take, you know, a similar supplement, even just a fish oil. Like I would have one dog that could handle it well. And the other dog, like he'd have diarrhea and loose stools. And so I find with my dogs, it's very individualized, and even food. One food works really well with one dog. One food doesn't, the same food might not work well for the other. So I just want to put that out there is, you know, all your friends might be saying, this supplement is awesome. This is awesome. Your veterinarian might be saying, this is awesome. Give it to your dog. Watch your dog because they're going to react differently. It's like people. But do I give, I do give supplements. I don't go overboard. But one of the things my dogs, being working dogs and sport dogs, high impact type activities I do with them, I do give them supplements for like their joints. There is research. We know a high percentage of dogs, even if they're not working dogs, they get arthritis. And there's been research to show different types of supplements that do help with the joints and things like that. And there's a lot of other things and supplements out there. We don't have time to get into all that. Like I said, I'm not an expert in that area, but you know, talk to your vet. And I think there are some really good things out there. And you also have to look at what are you feeding your dog and what does your regular dog's meal look like, you know, if it's balanced or not. And, you know, what might you need to add to it. And yeah, Angie said supplements might interact with medications differently. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, these kinds of conversations you want to have like with your veterinarian and stuff. But like I said, dogs can respond completely differently. And what works for one dog, you know, the other dog, I've experienced it, didn't work. The other question I had was, let's see. The question was, just motivation. You know, keeping motivated, and, you know, keeping up with activity and fitness and training. It's hard. It's hard. It's, you know, depending when you're really busy, your schedule's crazy, winter time. And a couple things that I find that help motivate me and other people is, training, having a group of people, being associated with a community, a group, even if it's an online, you know, group that you share your training, your activities you're doing. And also I find that sometimes, you know, I did friendshoring for years and years. I'm still involved, but I started doing more detection work. And so, you know, I find just changing things up and learning something new, a new sport, canicross, when I started doing canicross, and meeting new people, huge huge boost to motivation, huge, and changing up the training, learning something new, and even being involved in new communities of people, a different group, you know, my friendshoring people, that's one community, and the people, you know, the friends that I have that do the kind of detection work and the canicross people, it's different communities. And I find, you know, if you kind of gets kind of stagnant when you just kind of stay in the same thing year after year after year after year. I mean, I'm super motivated, but mixing things up and learning new things, meeting new people, I find is super motivating to keep that motivation to get up, to train, to do activities with your dog, and just having fun, having a lot of fun. Setting a trial goal. Yes, I remember when I was training for marathons, that was huge. You know, once you sign up for a marathon and, you know, you have that goal, you have that date, that's a huge motivator too, for some, for some. Shelly, hey, thanks for joining us. Good to see you here. When dogs are coming back from a back injury, you've been cleared by the vet, how do you begin building up strength again? How do you return them to activity when they are Oh, when they're happy now lying around. I don't have time to get into various different types of exercises. Number one is definitely, if your dog's been cleared by the vet, I would check by the vet to see kinds of exercises to do. One of the things, again, this is for a healthy dog, cleared by a vet, no issues. It's not a dog with a super long, some of these breeds have really long backs. But I know one of the things, and I saw it was a veterinarian doing it with some military, they were doing some research with rehabbing and fitness for military working dogs. And one of the things is, when I was rehabbing my back, when I had I still have the herniated discs, the Superman exercise where you lay on your stomach on the ground and you lift your front arms and your feet up off the ground, and you your back makes like this little curve, and the erector spinae, the muscles along along the vertebrae, along the spine, it did wonders. It really, when I would stretch like that, or stretch on my stomach and come up on my elbows and my hands, but those muscles, you're using those muscles in your back as you're kind of curving your back up. So the exercise, again, if your dog's injured or your dog's been recovering, you go to a vet. You have to clear it by a vet. But if your dog's completely healthy, solid back, because it does put pressure on the back. But the Cavaletti, and you can have like the yellow cones and have bars. It depends on the size of the dog, but it might be 12 inches, or you want the dog to be able to go under the bar and over the bar. And it's like a under, over. So if you set up a series of Cavaletti, a series of raised bars, I use like PVC poles. And what you do is you have the dog step over one pole and kind of crawl under the next one. Step over one, crawl under the next. Slowly, slow and controlled, not too high, not too low. If you're just starting out and it's kind of like this, a little bit of crawling under, go over, crawl under, come over. It says over, under, over, under. And so they're working the back that way. For getting the dog active, it's going to depend on the dog, and it also depends on the breed. I found that when my dog got used to recovering and he wasn't doing much, he got, he was happy and content just hanging around the house. I found that my dog, when I started increasing activity, his energy just shot up. So when he was doing nothing, he got used to that. But I found that as I started to increase his activity, his energy, at least for my dog, he's a Malinois, but his energy, the more I exercised him, the higher his drive and excitement and, that craziness came back. But if you're finding that the dog's not coming back to normal, I'd go get the dog checked out just to make sure there's not something else happening and going on there. If the activity level is not normal for your dog, your dog. But I do find, it's like when I go to the gym, the more frequent that I'm in the gym, if I'm going 3, 4, 5 days a week, I'm more motivated. My energy is higher. The more days I skip the gym, I just get lazier and lazier. That's what I saw with my dog. The more I worked him, the more the energy came back. The more he hung out at the house, he was just chill and seemed fine, just, hanging out, not doing much. So gosh, this, the time is gone. It's already almost 30 minutes, you guys. Let's see. All right, I think I got most. I don't have time for maybe one quick question. I'm just looking through. Yep, slowly build endurance back, slowly building back. Yeah. All right, you guys. I think I hit all the questions that were submitted to me. If you posted a question and it was not on my Northeast Canine Conditioning Facebook page, it might not have popped up in my news feed. So if you posted a question on like a group page or somewhere else, don't worry. I'll go back and I'll see if you have a question there that I missed. Because I do know if you're on my business page, the questions will pop up. But if you're watching this somewhere else, the question might not pop up. So I will go to the replay and I will get back to you. And if you are not watching this live, you can still ask a question. I'll go back and I'll answer them. And again, my name is Erica Bowling. I am from Northeast Canine Conditioning, and I wanted to post, Conchetta, post the link I do have. If you want to learn more, I have the Elite Canine Athlete Program. I have an online canine fitness program. It leads to becoming a certified canine athlete specialist. The link should be in the discussion area, and I will be adding it to the replay at the top. And I think Conchetta's gonna one of my colleagues is going to post it in here. But if you're interested in knowing more, message me on Facebook. Reach out to me, Erica Bowling from Northeast Canine Conditioning. Watch for the link for the Elite Canine Athlete Program because I have a very comprehensive program if you're interested in learning more, from helping your own dogs to learning more to where you can actually help other people and help educate people about how to keep your dog fit and healthy. So thank you guys for joining. If you're watching this, yep, take it slow when the dog's been injured. Bring it back slowly. Thank you for posting the link to the fitness, to the brochure for the program. You guys check it out. And if you found something here that was helpful, that was useful, that was informative, then feel free when I'm done the replay, the link, you can share the link, pass it on, share it with other people, cross-post it, post it in your Facebook page, and help spread the word. Help spread the word so we can keep these dogs healthy, injury-free, or if they have been injured, hopefully keep them healthy once they've been cleared and get them back out there and active again so we all can enjoy our activities together. So again, if I missed your question, I promise I'll go back and after this, I'll go and post responses in the discussion area. So thank you all. Again, I'm here on Fridays, my Facebook business page, Northeast Canine Conditioning on my Facebook business page, Fridays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Come catch me live. And thank you for those of you who submitted questions, great questions. Keep sending questions. I'll either answer and respond typing or I'll come back. I'll do another live show next week and I'll answer more questions then. So I'll talk to you soon. Have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye for now.